Welcome. My name is Alicia Rice. I'm the program manager on the training and education team here at the MaineHealth Center for Tobacco Independence. I'd like to welcome you to our ongoing webinar series. This is one component of our tobacco treatment, tobacco treatment and prevention education and training program, which is sponsored by and brought to you on behalf of the Maine Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Department of Health and Human Services. This webinar will be recorded and posted to our website following the presentation. We are offering one continuing medical education credit and one MCHES credit for this webinar. This will be sent to those who attend the entire session today. In order to claim CMEs, you must have a profile in Cloud CME. If you already do, you will find your credits in your profile within a week of this event. If you do not have a profile in Cloud CME, you can find instructions on how to make a profile in the post-webinar email. For those of you that are collecting MCHES credit, record of your attendance will be sent to NCheck after the event. And only those who registered for the webinar, connected via the Zoom link, and attended the full session will be able to receive CME and CEU credits, as we are required to verify those who attended. And at the conclusion of today's webinar, an evaluation will appear on your screen as well as be sent to you via email within 24 hours after the event. We do encourage you to take the time to provide your feedback. It's not only helpful for us in planning our webinar series, but to our presenters as well. So today's webinar is titled Products on the Shelves, Part 2, Tobacco and Nicotine Products, and is presented by Bonnie Alper of MaineHealth, Center for Tobacco Independence. And Bonnie is a tobacco treatment and prevention educator with the MaineHealth Center for Tobacco Independence training and education team. She joined the team in October of 2022. Bonnie received a Bachelor of Science degree in Community Health Education from the University of Maine at Farmington in 2015. She has worked at MaineHealth for the past 7 years and has expertise in health literacy, patient-centered communication, teach back, and is a Master Certified Health Education Specialist. Bonnie is a lifelong Mainer and is passionate about helping people on their journey to a tobacco-free lifestyle. Before we begin, I just want to also mention that all phone lines have been automatically muted to help reduce background noise. We do, however, want you to participate in the session. So please type any questions you may have during the webinar into the Q&A box, and we will address them as time allows at the end of the webinar. For your convenience, a copy of this webinar will be sent out via email after the webinar. At this point, I would like to turn it over to Bonnie.
Great, thanks, Alicia. And hello, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I'm logged in. I'm joined from Portland, Maine. The weather, looking out the window, it's sunny, it's a little windy, but it's in the 50s. So for us New Englanders, it kind of feels like a heat wave. And I hope that you're also having a lovely day wherever you might be joining the call from. And if you feel comfortable, feel free to type in the chat and let us know who you are, what your role is, and what the weather is when you look out your window. It's always fun to know. And some of you might remember that I did offer a similar webinar around this time last year. And today's webinar is going to be a refresh with new updates, and I added some new info as well. And you will get a copy, like Alicia says, you will get a copy of these slides after the webinar. So please don't worry about taking too many notes. And of course, I welcome your questions and your comments and anything that you'd like to share. So please go ahead, type those into the Q&A box, and we'll review them at the end together. We do have a few standard slides that we kick off all of our trainings and webinars with. So just look at those quickly. The MaineHealth Center for Tobacco Independence, or CTI as we call it, has served as the primary contractor of the Maine statewide tobacco treatment initiative since 2001. CTI administers statewide tobacco treatment contract on behalf of the Maine Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and we work across the state of Maine to address tobacco use and exposure through education, prevention, policy, treatment, and training initiatives. As we gather together in this virtual space, I'd like to acknowledge that here in Maine, we are occupying the traditional territory and ancestral lands of the Wabanaki people, who for thousands of years have called this place home. We acknowledge their continued connection to this land, give thanks for allowing us to do this good work on their homeland, and remember their ancestors who were here before us. References to tobacco in this presentation refer to commercial tobacco use, not the sacred and traditional tobacco that is used by Indigenous communities. And of course, I don't have any financial relationships to disclose. And here's a look at what we will cover today for the next hour together. I'll review the popular tobacco and nicotine products that are available today, including cigarettes, vapes, and oral nicotine pouches. We will learn how much money big tobacco companies spend to market these deadly products to people in our communities. We'll take a look at health risks and environmental impacts, and I'll wrap up by sharing some next steps and things that you can do. And some of this might be review for you, and for others, this might be all brand new information. And I designed it that way just in hopes that it's beneficial for everybody, regardless of how much time you might have worked in the tobacco treatment or prevention field. So some of it might be review, but hopefully you'll learn something today. So as promised, the bulk of today's webinar is going to focus on popular tobacco and nicotine products. I'm going to guide us through the options that you'd see if you walked into a gas station or other kind of retail shop, and we'll look at cost, popular brands, and we'll review how the product is used. We'll start with the smokable combustible products, then move on to vapes, and wrap up with oral smokeless nicotine products. We've been getting a ton of questions about oral nicotine pouches, which are pretty new. So if that's why you tuned in today, fear not, we will be talking about those shortly. And you'll hear me mention some things about why people enjoy using these products. This helps to give some context about maybe why your patients and clients are choosing certain products. But please know, I am not endorsing any of these products, not at all. And as a disclaimer, no tobacco product is safe. The health risks for different tobacco products exist kind of on a spectrum, which is sometimes referred to as a continuum of risk. Combusted or smoked tobacco products, such as cigarettes, are the most harmful type of tobacco product. Non-combusted products, such as vapes and other smokeless products, they generally have lower health risks, but that does not mean that they are safe to use. So with that all out of the way, let's dive in. Cigarettes are the most commonly used tobacco product, with 11.6% of adults in the United States reporting that they smoked cigarettes last year in 2024. So just about 1 in every 10 adults over the age of 18. A cigarette is a thin cylinder of finely cut tobacco rolled in paper. The white end is lit with a match or a lighter, and the smoke is inhaled through the yellow end through a filter typically. Popular brands of cigarettes are Marlboro, Newport, and Camel. Common flavors are menthol or unflavored, just that straight tobacco flavor. The average cost in the US for a pack of cigarettes is $8. So if somebody smokes a pack per day, they'll end up spending about $2,920 each year. So just shy of $3,000. A lot of money. And there is a huge price range depending on where you happen to live in the United States. New York is the most expensive, with a pack costing about $12, and Missouri is the least expensive at $6.11. Nicotine addiction is the primary reason why people continue to smoke cigarettes. And if you've taken a training with us here at CTI before, you'll know that nicotine is a really highly addictive substance. People say that smoking relaxes them and calms them down in stressful situations, but we know what they're actually feeling is the counter effects of nicotine withdrawal. And this information about nicotine does apply to all of the products that I'm talking about today. On average, one cigarette contains about 10 to 12 milligrams of nicotine. However, only about 1.5 milligrams are absorbed when they're smoked. One side note that I do want to share, many people are under the impression that light cigarettes are safer alternatives. Light cigarettes typically yield between about 0.6 and 1 milligram of nicotine, while the other more standard types of cigarettes yield between 1.2 and 1.4 milligrams. But despite these lower yields, light cigarettes do deliver about the same amount of nicotine to the brain as regular cigarettes do. Cigarette smoke contains more than 7,000 chemicals, with at least 69 of them being known to cause cancer. Cigarette smoke is directly responsible for 90% of lung cancer deaths, 80% of deaths caused by COPD, including emphysema and chronic bronchitis. So this won't be news to anybody, but smoking is harmful and it causes a lot of negative health impacts. Cigarette smoking and secondhand exposure cause more than 480,000 deaths each year in the United States. And this slide here shows just some of the health impacts that result from smoking cigarettes. So we have nicotine addiction, a lot of different kinds of cancers, heart disease, respiratory illness, eye issues, and sometimes even blindness, organ damage, type 2 diabetes, oral disease, reproductive and fertility issues, birth defects, loss of bone density, and rheumatoid arthritis. Because cigarettes are so harmful and dangerous, the US FDA has mandated warning labels that must be placed on cigarette packaging that are sold in retail spaces. The warning labels must be located on the left side of the front and rear panels of the carton and must take up at least 50% of the panels. And they have to be stuck right on the carton, not on a clear outer wrapper that can be easily removed. So if you have a pack here, they want it fully on that left-hand side, visible from the front side and back. These on the slide here, these are the 11 warning labels that are rotated. So I will leave this up here just for a few seconds so you can get a look. If this is something that you're interested in learning more about, I did put a link at the bottom of the slide too, so you can read more later on. Okay, next up we have cigars. A cigar is a cylinder of tobacco that is rolled in tobacco leaves, and most do not have a filter. There is a huge range of cost for cigars, ranging from $20 to upwards of $120. Depends on quality and what country that they're sourced from. There are three main types of cigars that are sold here in the US. There's large cigars, little cigars, and cigarillos. This slide right now focuses on large cigars, and these are a much bigger product than a cigarette. And to use it, one end is lit with a match or a lighter, and the user puffs or almost sips that smoke into their mouth. The smoke is not inhaled deeply into the lungs, like you would with a cigarette. It's not meant to be breathed in, but more so kind of hold the smoke in the mouth, if that makes sense. Like all of the tobacco products that we will discuss today, cigars contain the same addictive, toxic, and carcinogenic compounds that are found in cigarettes. People who smoke cigars on a frequent, regular basis are at a high risk for oral, esophageal, or laryngeal cancers. And there's the stereotype that cigars are very masculine, and some people view smoking cigars as a celebratory activity, like for the birth of a baby or a promotion at work. People say that they enjoy the leisurely pace of smoking a cigar because it can take upwards of an hour to smoke a larger cigar. For tobacco tax purposes, cigars are defined differently than cigarettes are. State taxes on cigars are often significantly less costly than taxes on cigarettes, which people often appreciate. Because cigar wrappers are less porous than a cigarette wrapper, the tobacco doesn't burn as completely, which results in higher concentrations of nitrogen oxides, ammonia, carbon monoxide, and tar. Large cigars can deliver as much as 10 times the nicotine levels, 2 times the tar, and 5 times more carbon monoxide than a filtered cigarette, which a lot of people don't know. And cigarillos, they're a type of cigar, but they are smaller than the traditional cigars that we looked at on the last slide. They're smaller than a bigger cigar, but they're bigger than a cigarette, so they're kind of in between. Cigarillos are made of tobacco leaves that are wrapped in a tobacco leaf or tobacco-based paper. Some will have a wooden or a plastic mouthpiece, and most of them don't have a filter. They're available in a wide variety of flavors, including vanilla, fruit, wine, and chocolate, and they cost about $1 each. Popular brands include Backwoods, Swisher Sweets, Black and Mild, and Dutch Masters. To use them, the end is lit and the smoke is inhaled, unlike a large cigar, like we just talked about, where they're more sipped or puffed. So with these cigarillos, they're smoked more like a traditional cigarette. In addition to the very cheap cost, people say that they choose cigarillos because there's this misperception that they're, less risky than cigarettes or big cigars. They take less time to smoke compared to the large cigars, and people also like that they're available in a lot of different flavors. However, we know that these products do cause negative health consequences, including cancer, heart disease, and oral disease as well. Roll your own cigarettes are made with loose leaf tobacco that is placed inside of a rolling paper. It's rolled into a cigarette shape and smoked, and people can choose to add a filter if they want to. Some people say that they enjoy the process of rolling their own cigarettes because it's almost soothing for them in a way. Some people like the fact that the components are taxed less than a commercial pack of cigarettes, which makes these a more affordable DIY option. On average, it's about $4 for a pack of loose leaf tobacco and about $2 for a pack of rolling papers. Because people fill their own and can use as much or as little tobacco as they want, hard for us to estimate how many cigarettes they'll get out of a package or how much nicotine is in a roll your own cigarette. So it varies quite a bit. Although loose leaf tobacco products contain fewer additives than prepackaged cigarette tobacco, most will contain additives for flavor, aroma, and preservation. Due to soil contamination, loose leaf tobacco may also contain heavy metals. In even the most purest, most natural, quote unquote, natural tobacco, right, that's grown in healthy soil, it will still produce harmful chemicals when it's burned, including tar and carbon monoxide, All tobacco smoke, regardless of the source, contains more than 70 carcinogens. And additionally, most of the rolling papers contain heavy metals too, like arsenic, cadmium, and mercury. And the bleached, fast-burning, and flavored types of rolling papers, those are going to have the highest levels of heavy metal contamination. That's something to know. Pipe tobacco is loose leaf tobacco that's burned in a smoking pipe with a bowl. It's used by pinching a bit of the tobacco and using a finger to really pack it into the bowl or a pipe. A lighter or a match is used to light and heat the tobacco, and then the user puffs or sips the smoke into the mouth, similar how we talked about the cigar. It's not inhaled deeply like a cigarette. On average, pipe tobacco costs about $20 per pound, but there is a very wide range of price depending on cut and quality. Popular brands include Four Aces, Forkham Riff, Captain Black, and Carter Hall. People enjoy pipe tobacco because it's a really leisurely paced activity. It usually takes about 20 to 40 minutes to smoke a pipe. And some pipe tobacco products are advertised as being additive free. However, we do know that most loose leaf tobacco does contain some additives for flavor, aroma, and preservation. Soil contamination is also a major issue and can result in that tobacco containing dangerous heavy metals. Okay, so before we move on and we talk about hookah and then non-combustible products, I am going to just quickly review some of the chemicals that are found in the tobacco products that we just reviewed. cigarettes, cigars, cigarillos, and pipe tobacco. They're all made from dried tobacco leaves. And as you just heard, chemicals are often added to these products to enhance flavor and to make the smoke smoother and less harsh. Tobacco smoke consists of literally thousands of chemicals, and at least 70 of these are known to cause cancer. These substances are known to cause heart disease and lung disease as well. There are also radioactive materials that can be found in tobacco leaves. This is due to the fertilizer and soil that the tobacco leaves are grown in. The amount of radioactive materials depends on where the plants were grown and what types of fertilizers were used to enhance their growth. These radioactive materials are emitted when the product is smoked. And long-term exposure to this radiation can lead to lung damage, and it can actually increase the damage that's caused by the other chemicals in the tobacco smoke too. Combustible tobacco products are the most harmful type of tobacco product. And this isn't new for most of you, so I won't spend too much time here on this slide, just a quick little review. So we know that smoking harms nearly every organ in the body. 1 in 3 cancer deaths is linked to smoking, as well as 1 in every 5 heart disease deaths. Smoking increases risk for stroke and type 2 diabetes. And we also know that smoking before, during, and after pregnancy can cause harm to the baby. All right, next up, we're going to take a look at hookahs. So hookah is a type of water pipe that's used to vaporize and smoke flavored tobacco mixtures. The smoke is passed through a water basin before it's inhaled, and it produces a ton of smoke. Hookahs vary in size, shape, and style. A typical modern hookah has a head with holes in the bottom, a metal body, a water bowl, and a flexible hose with a mouthpiece. If somebody were to buy all of the components to use a hookah at home, it would be quite an investment for them, close to $275. There are also hookah bars where people can go, rent a hookah, and use it with friends. All right, so how is it used? So for people who do it at home, it is a pretty intricate process. So the user adds the shisha, which is tobacco packed in glycerin and flavorings. So they pack that shisha into the bowl of the hookah, and different flavors include fruit, mint, and just straight tobacco flavor. The bowl is covered with tinfoil, and they poke small holes in that tinfoil. Using a lighter or a stove burner, they light this charcoal cube, and then they put that on top of the tinfoil. And once that's fully warmed up, it creates a lot of smoke, and that smoke is inhaled through the mouthpiece at the end of the hose. A bit more than 1 milligram of nicotine is inhaled with each puff off the hookah. Health risks of hookah are similar to smoking cigarettes, including nicotine addiction, oral cancer, lung and stomach cancers, cancer of the esophagus, reduced lung function, as well as decreased fertility. The charcoal cube that is used to heat the tobacco also causes concern because it produces really high levels of carbon monoxide, heavy metals, and other carcinogens. Even after it's passed through the water, the smoke from a hookah has really high levels of all of these toxic agents. Because of the way that hookah is used, people who smoke hookah may actually end up absorbing more toxic substances than people who smoke cigarettes. Compared to smoking one single cigarette, smoking hookah delivers 25 times the amount of tar, 125 times the amount of smoke, 2.5 times the nicotine, and 10 times the carbon monoxide. It's also important to mention that there are some non-tobacco hookah products. Labels and ads for these products often claim that users can enjoy the same taste without the harmful effects of tobacco. However, studies show that when they compared the tobacco-based to herbal-based shisha, compared the two, the smoke from both preparations do contain carbon monoxide and other toxic agents that are known to increase the risks for smoking-related cancers. So these are not risk-free or healthy options, despite what their labels are claiming. Lastly, there are newer types of electronic hookah products. These include steam stones and hookah pens. These products are battery powered and they turn liquid containing nicotine, flavorings, and other chemicals into an aerosol, which is then inhaled. There's limited information currently on the health risks of these e-hookahs. More time and research is needed to learn about the health impacts of these products, but we do know right now, we can confidently say inhaling aerosol is not safe. And we're going to talk about this in just a second when we look at vapes. All right, so we've moved from the combustible products and the hookah. Now we're going to look at smokeless tobacco and nicotine products, starting with refillable vapes. And vapes are also called e-cigarettes. Just so you know, you might hear people call them either name. Both are referring to the same type of product. As you'd assume, refillable vapes are able to be refilled and recharged. They're not a disposable one-time use product. The user has to manually fill them up with a flavored e-liquid, which is also called vape juice. So again, e-liquid, vape juice, same thing. You're going to hear it called different things by different people. Popular flavors of vape juice are fruit, candy, desserts, popcorn, mint, and menthol. And the nicotine content, there's a pretty big range. It ranges from 3 milligrams to 18 milligrams of nicotine, depending which e-juice you're buying. Average cost is about $20 for the vape itself, and then about $12 for that vape juice. To use it, the user inhales the aerosol vapor from the mouthpiece of the vape. When the battery is low, they simply plug it in, they recharge it. When that e-liquid's empty, they replace it with a new one. People say that they like vapes. They are really visually appealing and the flavors are enticing. And they're also easier to conceal than combustible products are. Vapes are more widely accepted in public spaces, even though legally people aren't allowed to smoke or to vape in public spaces, excuse me. Vaping's just not monitored or enforced as heavily as smoking is at this time. Contrary to popular belief, vaping and secondhand vape exposure does lead to health risks. Aerosol vapor is full of scary chemicals, including, the same kind of chemicals that are found in antifreeze, embalming fluid, fireworks, nail polish remover, and pesticides. Because vapes are relatively new to the market, we need more time and more research to fully understand the long-term health impacts of vaping. But at this time, we do know that some of the health risks will include nicotine addiction, asthma, a lot of different kinds of cancers, lung inflammation and permanent lung scarring, difficulty breathing, headaches, organ damage, cardiovascular disease, a lot of dental and oral issues as well, and something called EVALI. So EVALI, and that stands for e-cigarette or vaping use associated lung injury. So it's a mouthful, so that's why we shorten it. But that condition includes cough, shortness of breath, chest pain, fever, vomiting, diarrhea, stomach pain, and rapid heartbeat. Next up, we have disposable vapes. So, as you could probably guess, these are thrown away when they're empty. They have the same flavor options as the refillable vapes do. Again, those include fruit, candy, dessert, mint, and menthol. And these flavors really appeal to the younger demographics in particular. They see a brightly colored vape. It's pink. It looks like, it's beautiful. It's sparkly. It tastes like bubble gum. They try it and they like it. It tastes good. And then really quickly, they become addicted to that nicotine without even realizing it sometimes. 9 out of 10 high schoolers who vape say that they always choose a fun, pretty colored flavored vape. Vapes are the most popular product among youth. We don't have time to get into it today, but there is a huge youth vaping epidemic in our country. Last year in 2024, 5.9% of middle and high school students in the US reported that they use vapes on a very regular basis, if not daily. Disposable vapes have the same health risks and implications as the refillable ones that we just looked at the last slide. Disposable vapes cost between $10 to $20 each. The nicotine content, again, there's a big range. You can get one for as low as 3 milligrams and upwards of 18 as well. Popular brands are Alper, Breeze, Mr. Fog, and Juul. Next up, we'll take a look at chewing tobacco. This is cured and cut tobacco leaves in the form of loose leaf, plug, or twist. And I included some visuals here on the side so you can see what those different kinds look like. The user puts the product in their mouth between their gum and their cheek or lip, and the nicotine and chemicals are absorbed right through the lining of their mouth. The user spits out the excess saliva, typically into something like a plastic bottle or a cup or something. On average, chewing tobacco costs about $8 a bag. Popular brands include Appalachian, Applejack, Beechnut, Big Mountain, and Bowie. People say that they like chewing tobacco because it can be used in areas where smoking and vaping are prohibited, and it also doesn't expose others to secondhand smoke or aerosol. Health risks of chewing tobacco include nicotine addiction, cancers, oral and dental disease like gum disease, gum recession, tooth decay, and discolored patches in the mouth, bad breath, and tooth loss sometimes. It can also turn precancerous lesions in the mouth. It's called leukoplakia, and these can eventually turn cancerous as well. Smokeless tobacco products contain carcinogens, excuse me, including TSNAs, which can cause cancer of the lungs, nasal tract, mouth, and esophagus. Snus is another kind of smokeless tobacco product that consists of moist, finely ground tobacco. And there are 4 different forms of snus. So there's loose, original, moist, and white. With loose, there are no pouches. The user uses their finger to roll the moist snus into a ball, and then they put it in their mouth. Original comes in pouches that are brown in color, and they have a really strong tobacco taste. Moist is similar to the original, but it releases the flavors quicker and has even more nicotine content typically. And then the white form, these pouches have lower moisture content, which lessens the drip. I kept reading that online, it lessens the drip, so it doesn't feel as wet in their mouth when they use it. And because of the different kinds that are available, there's a very wide range of nicotine content for usage, ranging from 9 milligrams up to 30 milligrams. Popular brands include Camel, Ace, and General. Snus is used by placing the product between the lip and gum. Nicotine and other chemicals are absorbed through the lining of the mouth. Wintergreen and mint are the top popular flavors. So why do people like it? So again, snus can be used in areas where smoking and vaping are prohibited. It offers a smoke-free product that gets nicotine into the system without the need for spitting or inhaling smoke. And it doesn't expose other people to secondhand smoke or aerosol vapor. And although snus is considered quote unquote safer, I'm going to do that a lot. It's safer, but it doesn't mean it's safe. It's safer than smoking cigarettes. In theory, it does pose some health risks. So nicotine addiction, cancer, oral disease, reproductive, developmental risks, and heart disease as well. Snuff is another type of smokeless tobacco product. Snuff is similar to chewing tobacco, but it's ground up more finely into smaller bits and pieces. There's a wide range of nicotine content in various products, ranging from 4 milligrams to 25 milligrams. Popular flavors include fruit, coffee, chocolate, and mint. The average cost is about $5 per tin, and popular brands include Copenhagen, Skoal, Grizzly, and Longhorn. There are 2 styles of snuff. There's moist and dry. With moist, a pinch of the tobacco or a pouch is put into the mouth between their gum and their cheek or lip, excuse me. Nicotine is absorbed through the lining of the mouth, and the user repeatedly spits out the excess saliva, again, into a bottle or a cup or something. And after a few minutes, they take the tobacco or the pouch out of their mouth and throw it away. And then with dry snuff, the tobacco is actually sniffed or inhaled through the nose, but this method is less common in the US. And last up, we have the oral nicotine pouches. And these are the newest thing to hit the market, and they're used pretty similarly to snus. They are small white pouches that are put right into the mouth between the gum and lip or cheek. The user does not need to spit out excess saliva, so they leave it in there for about 30 to 45 minutes. They get all that nicotine, and then they take the pouch out and throw it away. The Zyn brand has become so well known that many consumers use that name interchangeably with the generic term of nicotine pouch. So it's kind of similar how consumers will say the brand name Kleenex in place of tissue, or they might say Band-Aid rather than just bandage. Although Zyn is the leading brand of oral nicotine pouches, there are other popular brands, and those include On, Velo, and Zone. Each brand is available in a variety of different flavors and nicotine levels. On average, a pack or tin costs about $5. A Zyn pack contains 15 pouches, and the On brand has 20 pouches per pack. Oral nicotine pouches are the second most commonly used product among middle and high school students, following vapes, of course. And although this is less likely a less harmful product than combustible tobacco, it doesn't mean that this is safe. Again, I'm never going to say any of these products are safe. They're safer than alternatives, perhaps, but they're not safe. So youth and adults who do not already use another tobacco product shouldn't start using nicotine pouches. For adults who smoke, switching completely from cigarettes to nicotine pouches may reduce exposure to harmful chemicals. Ooh, as you get talking so much, and then you get a frog in your throat. But I have a cough drop at the ready. Okay. Where was I? Sorry about that. Using nicotine pouches can generally be a lower risk alternative for adults who smoke, but we know using nicotine pouches is not risk-free. Nicotine pouches contain nicotine, which is highly addictive, as we all know, and it can also deliver other harmful chemicals. Some people think that snus and Zyn are the same thing, but they are different, and I'm going to take a minute to address that. Snus is made of tobacco, salt, water, artificial flavors, and other chemicals. That Zyn, on the other hand, contains nicotine powder and is technically tobacco-free. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Again, I do want to stress the point that these products have not been around long enough to know what the long-term health impacts are. So more to come, I'm sure, in the next few years on that. All right, this graph shows us which products are popular with adults in the United States. Cigarettes were the most commonly used product, followed by vapes and then cigars. You'll see that oral nicotine pouches aren't listed here. And these are so new to the market that data just wasn't collected for these products when this report came out about 3 years ago. So I'll be really curious to see where these do rank in the next data set that comes out. Here we can see the most popular products among teens and youth. This data is from the 2024 National Youth Tobacco Survey, and it represents middle and high schoolers throughout the country. The most common products are vapes, followed by oral nicotine pouches, and cigarettes rank third. And as you all likely know, the legal age to buy tobacco and nicotine products is age 21. So what this tells us is that these kids are getting their products some other way. We can assume that likely not all retail stores are IDing every consumer with every purchase. And we've also heard that older siblings, sometimes even parents, are buying these products for these kids. It's also harder to monitor online website sales and third-party sellers via TikTok and Instagram, for example. So there's still a ton of work that needs to be done to make sure that youth aren't able to access these products. Okay. We are going to switch gears a little bit and take a look at marketing costs. So this is data from 2022, and it is the most recent data that I could find on the CDC website about this topic. I'm so sorry for coughing in your ears, guys. Gosh, excuse me. All right, In 2022, manufacturers in the US spent a whopping $8.6 billion, that's billion with a B, billion dollars on advertising and promoting cigarettes and smokeless tobacco products. So put that into perspective, that's about $1 million every hour. This price includes price discounts to retailers and wholesalers to really lower that price of tobacco products to the consumers that are buying them. It also includes money to shelve and display specific brands. So these retail stores are given a ton of money to display and advertise these products front and center. When you go inside a gas station, you pay for your gas or you buy some road trip snacks, you're going to see these tobacco products in the advertisements right behind the cashier. They're not subtle and they're obvious marketing tactics. One thing that I was shocked to learn in my research is that for every $1 that the US state tobacco control programs invest to reduce tobacco use and smoking rates in their communities, tobacco companies are spending about $12 promoting it. So we're outnumbered 12 to 1. Just let that sink in for a second. $12 to $1. Let's take a quick look at the sales restrictions that we have currently in the US. In 2019, the age to legally buy age 18 to age 21. So it's illegal for retailers to sell any tobacco or nicotine product to anyone under the age of 21. Retailers are legally required to check the photo ID of anybody who looks younger than 30 if they're attempting to purchase a tobacco or nicotine product. Of course, we know that doesn't always happen, but that is what the law says. Tobacco and nicotine products cannot be sold via vending machine and any type of facility where people under age 21 are able to get in. And free samples of tobacco and nicotine products cannot be given away to consumers, regardless of how old they are. And I would be remiss if I didn't take at least a few moments to touch on the negative environmental impacts of tobacco products. Earth Day is on April 22nd, it's 5 days away, and it's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. So I'll just breeze through this quickly, just give a high level overview. Big tobacco contributes to negative environmental consequences through all stages, starting on the left with growing and curing the tobacco leaves. This has a direct impact on deforestation, which also leads to climate change, soil erosion, reduced soil fertility, and it affects water cycles. For every 300 cigarettes that are produced, 1 tree is destroyed just to cure that tobacco leaf. Moving along to that second column there with manufacturing and production, these processes use large amounts of energy, clean water, metals, thousands of chemicals, and of course, it generates waste and contributes to deforestation as well. In the middle, we're going to look at distribution and transportation. So tobacco that is grown in one country is often shipped to other countries. This transportation increases carbon emissions and doesn't even begin to cover the fuel that's needed for transport trucks, ships, and planes. And the big issue that most of us know about is consumption, or when people actually smoke the product, right? We learned about the major health concerns already, so we don't need to review those again. I do want to mention that secondhand smoke, that's, when somebody's smoking nearby you and you breathe in that smoke, that really affects these unwilling people that are nearby, pets, and even wildlife that just happen to be around somebody smoking. Secondhand smoke contains more than 7,000 toxic chemicals, and it does remain dangerous even after the cigarette is put out. And lastly, in that far right column, we'll look at post-consumption. So what happens to a cigarette after somebody is done smoking? Did you know that cigarette butts are the most littered item on Earth? 75% of people who smoke report that they toss them right out the car window or just on the ground when they're done. And they end up scattered along the roads, beaches, sidewalks, and parks. And then once they land, these chemicals just leach into the environment. And I see so many when I take my dogs for walks. It's It's really a huge problem. And I know this isn't exactly the topic that you signed up to learn about today. So thank you for listening to my side tangent. But in addition to helping improve health, wellness, and quality of life, we're actually helping the environment as well when we're able to help a patient or a client cut back or quit smoking. So that's another silver lining and just something to keep in the back of your mind. For more information on this topic, I did include a helpful link here on the slide, so feel free to check that out later. Okay, so today we've learned that the tobacco industry has devastating impacts on the people in our communities, pets, wildlife, and the environment, and it feels really overwhelming. But I do want to take a minute just to remind everybody here that there are things that we all can do. There are small things that we can do that can help to make a big difference to improve health and wellness in our communities and for our planet. And you're doing step one just by joining me today, so thank you. You're staying informed. The products on the shelves are changing literally all the time, so do your best to stay informed and in the loop. Knowledge is power. Do some research every month or so to see if there's any new products out there just to have on your radar. Step two is to help others. So share information with your colleagues and your friends. If your role at work is to help people quit or cut back on smoking, you can add today's knowledge to your toolkit that you are constantly building for yourself. Helping others make changes to live a healthier lifestyle is truly a superpower, so don't forget that. It can be easy to get discouraged, but you are really making a big difference in the work that you're doing. And lastly, you can be an advocate for change. You can start by connecting with the American Lung Association and the Truth Initiative. These are both really fantastic organizations. So whether you sign up for their newsletter, make a donation, sign up for a community pickup. I did one of those last night, walked around Bayside area and picked up a ton of cigarette butts. And it all makes a difference, every little piece that you can do. So I hope that this inspires you to get involved in some way today. So after watching today's webinar, you now have all sorts of information about tobacco and nicotine products, and it can be really tempting, right, to spew this knowledge at the next patient who walks through your door. However, we know that that doesn't work very well to inspire change. So instead, try to focus on creating a safe space for people to open up to you and be vulnerable. Be compassionate and show them that you really care. Legitimize their struggle. Quitting smoking and recovering from nicotine addiction is not an easy thing to do. So hear them out, acknowledge that it's hard, but you believe in them. And when they're ready, you can help them make a change. And also ask permission before you share information. The goal is to really have a back and forth conversation and to not lecture at people. And they might be interested in hearing what you learned today, but be sure to ask permission before you just knowledge dump all over them. So you could say something like, oh, you mentioned that you heard that vapes aren't dangerous. Is it okay if I share some info with you about what I just recently learned about vaping? And if they say yes, you can share all of this with them. And if they say no, you have to respect that and say, no problem. If you change your mind, I'd love to talk to you about it. And this slide here, this will be a refresher if you've ever joined my team for any kind of training. So I won't go in depth today, but I did just want to put a little plug and remind you that the best way, the way that provides the best patient outcomes, right, is to use NRT medication and counseling, so behavior change talk therapy. And the term counseling doesn't mean that you have to be a certified counselor to use these talk therapy approaches. Really, anybody who helps and supports others in their role can benefit from learning about motivational interviewing and cognitive behavioral therapy. So if you think that you might benefit from learning more about tobacco treatment, I would love for you to join us. I encourage you to sign up for a training. And here is the link if you do want to sign up for one of our upcoming trainings. Excuse me. So ctimaine.org/education. So I hope we do see you again soon. And as we get close to wrapping up, I have a few more things to share with you. The CTI material database is a free resource for everybody. You can order handouts, fact sheets, magnets, and stickers. So you can get started at ctimaine.org/resources. The online Maine Prevention Store has digital and hard copy materials that you can order for free. So you can get free handouts, posters, stickers, as well as smoke-free area signs to display outside your home or business. So browse online, MainePreventionStore.org. And that's my last official slide here. And I do want to just thank you all so much for joining this webinar today. And we'd love for you to stay in touch with us. Our email address here, tobaccotrng@mainehealth.org. That's our team email. So whatever you send there, we'll get to the right person. And we'd love to answer your questions. And we do have about, looking at the clock, we have about 9 minutes left. So I am going to pull my slides down and see if Alicia has any questions to read for me from in the Q&A box. And thank you for bearing with my cough. My gosh, it's so embarrassing, but we made it. We made it through.
No worries at all, Bonnie. Thank you so much. Great information. And there are some questions. I've responded to a few, but certainly want to get your expertise too here. First question is, what are your thoughts on the warning labels? In my role in our county government, we focus on no scare tactics. Do you feel the warning labels are scare tactics?
So as somebody who does not work in that role, it's hard to say whether or not they're effective. I agree with you that scare tactics often aren't the most useful way to inspire change in somebody. You know, if you have a patient or client sitting in front of you, they already know that they should stop smoking. It's already on their radar. Showing them pictures of diseased lung or anything, that's something that we advise against and we teach about in our trainings. However, if it does help put some knowledge out there for people, I can't say whether it's harmful or helpful, but I'm also not in that decision-making process. So I wanted to share that that's being done. So when people are buying cigarettes, they are seeing these harmful warning labels. So I kind of danced around that question. I don't know if they're good or bad, but they're being used, but they shouldn't be the only motivation to kind of inspire change for people.
Agreed. Thank you so much. Also, would you know if cigar lounges post precautionary information regarding smoking and inhalation of use and near use of cigars at these popular establishments?
I don't know the answer to that, but I appreciate you
Okay.
bringing that up, and that's definitely something I'll look into.
Yeah, that sounds great. And do vapes ever come nicotine free?
So yes, and they claim to be nicotine free, but a lot of times there's actually nicotine in them. So they're mislabeled, it's unfactual. There are specific kinds, I forget the brand name off the top of my head, but they have these vape-like devices where you're breathing in this flavored air. But we know breathing in any sort of artificial flavoring isn't good for you. I can't tell you exactly what the health impacts are, but I can confidently say it's better for your lungs if you're not breathing that in. But keep in mind that nicotine, or the vapes that say that they don't contain nicotine, a lot of times they still do, even if it's a low dose.
Yeah. Thank
A
you
lot
for
of
that.
false labeling and false information on these products.
Agreed. Great questions, by the way. Thanks for the engagement. The next one, I am in West Virginia and a pharmacology professor. It's sunny and cool here today. I do have a question though. I thought the flavored vape products were banned. I haven't followed those laws closely, but were the laws never enacted, overturned, or are there too many loopholes?
I think loopholes is the biggest issue. And the FDA, they're trying so hard to keep up with all of these new products that are coming out from all these different brands. And the second they put in a rule or regulation, it seems like Big Tobacco is already a step ahead and they're creating new little nuances and twists and turns on their products to help them sneak through. So yes, they were supposed to be not available anymore because it's so obviously targeted at youth. You know, bright, sparkly pink bubble gum. It's for adults. No, that's for kids. They can't say that without a straight face, but they are still available to buy right now, which I hate. I wish I could change it.
Agreed. Thank you, Bonnie. Do you think spent Zyn pouches, so discarded, are going to one day overtake cigarettes as the most polluted product on Earth?
Hard to say without my crystal ball. You know, I can't see into the future, but if they are continued at such a popular increase, and we're seeing people smoke cigarettes less and less, they are still such a um, popular product, I guess I'm trying to say. The cigarette butts are everywhere. If more and more people are using Zins and oral nicotine pouches, I guess that comes kind of hand in hand with more
Mm-hmm.
waste and litter. So I hope not. I hope that people really start disposing of these products in not a dangerous way, or they stop using them altogether. But I think it's safe to say if more and more people keep using them, likely the litter and the waste is going to increase as well.
Okay. Thank you. Lots of thank yous for your great presentation. And yes, I will answer. The slides will be available. We'll send those out in a post webinar email. So how about resources available for out of state?
Yeah, so I'm curious, whoever wrote that in, please clarify. Are you meaning like the last couple slides that we put up with the Maine Prevention Store and those handouts? Or are you meaning resources just like in general? I'd be happy to pull some resources together to share in an email after this.
Yes, I don't see yet. So let's
But
see.
either way,
Oh,
I believe,
from Florida, actually. So Nancy from Florida.
okay. I'm not sure still, Nancy, if you are asking about the handouts and the stickers and the smoke-free area signs, but I believe the answer is yes, that those are able to be accessed. And Alicia, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think those are free resources for everybody, regardless if you live in Maine or not.
Yes, definitely. And I know certainly for quit lines as well, for all states, it's 1-800-QUIT now. And that's a way to find your local quit line in your area if you find that to be helpful. Okay, so who regulates vaping products? Are most products from other countries?
Yes, so in theory, all of the products that we talked about today are going to go through the CDC at a federal level. There's a team, they're reviewing all of these products. They have stacks and stacks of forms that are coming through that they're trying to stay on top of. Things are still sneaking out, things are still on the market, and kind of like black marketed almost. People can find these products, whether they're ordering them from overseas or in the States, until the distributor gets busted almost from the FDA. It's it's such a problem, and I wish I had a better answer, but in theory, they're supposed to be reviewed and approved before they're sold on the shelves. However, that is not always the case.
Yes, thank you. Um, a couple more here. Sorry.
That's
Let's see.
great. I'm glad people are asking.
Yes, lots of great engagement. I teach youth vaping education for, excuse me if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly, Akron Children's Hospital using the Stanford You and Me Together Vape Free program. So just wanting to share that
Thank you.
statement.
That's awesome work that you're doing. Thank you for doing that.
And how do teachers and school administrators keep up with new products so that they know what to look for?
Great question. You know, and we would love for those groups to come to trainings like ours, and just get educated and stay informed. But I can't speak to how specific schools and specific employees are learning, but we are a resource for everybody, whether or not you are specifically a tobacco treatment professional or you just happen to work in schools or dental office or guidance counselor, whoever. We welcome everybody to come.
Great. Thank you so much. So if we did not get to your question, we certainly will include that in the post-webinar email follow-up. But I do want to thank you, Bonnie. Lots of great information that you shared today. This webinar was recorded. It will be posted on our website. But just a reminder, in order to claim CMEs, you must have a profile in the Cloud CME platform. Instructions can be found in the post-webinar email that will be coming out. For those that are collecting MCHES credit, it will be sent to NCHEC after the event. And only those who registered for the webinar, connected via the Zoom link, and attended the full session will be able to receive the CMEs and MCHES credit, as we are required to verify those who attended. You will also receive this information in a copy of Bonnie's slide deck in a post-webinar email. And additionally, we do really value participating in the evaluation. It will appear on your screen once the webinar is closed, and please take the time to provide your feedback. You have any additional questions, please feel free to contact us, and we thank you for your participation today.
Yes, thank you,
You all.
everybody. Thanks for all the important work that you're out there doing. We appreciate you and we see you. So thank you.
Take care.
Take care.